Hello and welcome to another episode of Not BIOS. This is the G85 at 1080p with the Pro lens, 1.2 aperture. Camera seems to be unsure. Let's see if it tap on me. This camera is actually great usually when you have it in one spot. Let's see if I can back up. I don't know if it's focused on me. Back here now. Let's go off screen. Back on screen. So for your purpose, you'll want to see what camera works best. Do you sit in one spot? Are you going to lose focus on yourself? Let's try now ducking down. And I'll try the Olympus right after this one. I'm sure it's focusing on the tree. Let's now focus on me. This is the Panasonic G85 at 4K. I tap the screen to get myself in focus. Come on. There we go. Now it should be focused on the tree. Let's see if it can focus on me. Come on, camera. And duck out of the scene. And now on me. As you can see, the camera is quite slow at focusing compared to Olympus, especially with the newest firmware. Right now on my G85, I'm running firmware version 1.4. On my Olympus, I'm running 3.1. Can it see me? Now, if you notice, the G85 can't just do this. Like this is awesome. Mind you, it's raining, cloudy, definitely not ideal conditions for this recording at all. Look at those blurry apartments in the background. I go closer, it gets blurrier. Go outside. And here's the focus test at 1080p. And now I'm on the scene. And it should be focused on the tree. And now on me. This is handheld at 17mm, a bit close. So if you vlog and hold your camera with your hand, and walk around, a 12mm on a micro 4/3 system may work nicely. That is 24mm full frame equivalent. Now, here is a scene using the kit lens. This is the Lumix G85 from Panasonic using the kit lens. Right now we're running at 1080p. This is the Olympus recording at 1080p at 12mm zoom. With the stump, see if I stay in focus. So how am I coming through? Can I stay in focus up close? You might wonder, why did I get the Pro lens at 25mm, 50mm equivalent? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I plan to do portrait photography. Right now with this 12mm I have it set to right now, I'm only arm's length away. I'm holding this camera in my hand. Perfect for a vlogger. That's a person that talks and walks with the camera in their hand, but not great for portraits up close. You're just too close to a person that will make any person feel uncomfortable. So a 50mm equivalent, that's like something a lot of the Pentax K1000 came with and everything. You have that bit of a distance, we're not so darn close. Anyways, back to the Pro lens. Now we are at 1080p with the G85. Let's go into the scene. And let's jump back in. And duck out. It should be focused on the tree. And now on me, hopefully, if it can actually figure it out. Of course, this camera will focus faster should it be sunny. But with the rain clouds, this is not the ideal conditions at all. The one nice thing about the Pro lens is it's waterproof, dustproof, and freeze-proof. There's really not much background blur with the kit lens because the lower aperture number, this is only 1.2, makes a difference. My other lens, if I put it to the, say 12 millimeters, then the aperture, the lowest it goes is 3.5. And of course, the higher the number, the sharper your background as well. And that applies to photography as well. Now, I'm gonna go handheld and see how this works. The one not so fun part about the G85, at least in 4K, it's gonna crop me. And if you were holding a gimbal or selfie stick, like I'm doing right now, I would not recommend on the Micro Four Thirds system a 25mm lens. This is 50mm equivalent. It's far too zoomed in. However, you could get away with 17mm or 12. This is 1080p. I am now at 4K, which of course I'm very cropped in. I'll tap on the screen and it should focus on me nicely. It should. I might be too zoomed in. Again, 25mm, which is 50mm full frame equivalent, is not ideal. You're too zoomed in. Again, a Micro Four Thirds system will be more zoomed in for equivalent lenses. Come on, let's go further back. Can you focus on me? Come on, camera. Now, if I had a 12mm or 17mm, this actually might work fine. But in this case, it's not focusing. Oh, there you go. But when it does focus, look how razor sharp this is. And one thing I realized, the difference between the quality of the G85 and the Olympus for pure image quality of the lens, as you can see, this is quite nice for color. The Olympus has a flat profile and a log profile. The G85 does not have a log profile, but out of the camera, this is quite reasonably sharp. But the problem we have is that focus issue. And that's why I got the other camera, and I'll be recording the Olympus from now on. This is a 25mm lens, which is a full frame 50mm equivalent. That's why I'm actually so zoomed up. Now I'm filming at 1080p. So this is the Olympus Pro lens at a 1.2 aperture. So this is the G85, flippy screen and all. The Olympus OMD M1 MKII. Flippy screen. And here is the Lumix Panasonic kit lens 12 to 60 with an f-stop of 3.5 up to 5.6. Here is the Pro 25mm lens, full frame equivalent of 50mm, aperture 1.2, also known as a prime lens at only 25mm. On the bottom I have the lens hood. And when you pull the sleeve up, it is now set to manual focus. Down, automatic. I'd like to thank Campbell River Phototech Photo Source for getting me a great deal on this camera and a great deal on my zoom lens, which I'm going to review with pictures. My zoom lens is 40 to 150 millimeter, aperture of 2.8. It is full frame equivalent of 80 to 300 millimeter. The lens I'm using right now, of course, is my Pro lens, which is 25 millimeter, 50 millimeter full frame equivalent, aperture of 1.2. That is the lowest aperture I know I can find. However, if you were right up close to your camera, holding it in gimbal, hand holding your camera, and use this micro 4/3 camera, both the Olympus and the Lumix, Panasonic Lumix G85 and other models are micro 4/3 and are lens compatible. Would I recommend any other camera? Sure, well, thank you Camera Conspiracies for not mentioning the Fuji sooner after I bought this camera and after I spent thousands of dollars on lenses. You should have told me much sooner. I depend on you. The Fuji X-T3 camera. The color profile is beautiful, means I don't need a lot. I don't have to edit it. Out of the camera footage is perfect. However, if you handheld, it has no in-body stabilization known as IBIS. Both the G85, G95, of course, as well. That's the replacement camera. And this Olympus OMD E-M1 MKIII, and of course the M5 MKIII that just released, all have in-body stabilization. And that way you can walk with the camera without being really shaky. And if you handhold, that can be important. Your other choice, if you don't have that, is lens-based stabilization or using special software to stabilize your video. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.